What does a red heifer from Texas have to do with the end of times, biblical prophecies, and the second coming of Jesus?
It's in the Bible. It's there. It's already happening. It's like the earth is shaking at the coming of the Messiah.
And you just got back from Israel and you guys did that ceremony, right?
Yeah, I actually have some ash in my pocket.
You brought the cow's ashes with you?
I did, yeah.
Oh.
The first time these ashes have been on earth in 2,000 years.
In order to rebuild that third temple, the first step is the red heifer.
Yes.
There is one big obstacle in all of this. It lies under the Temple Mount, home to the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, two of the holiest sites in Islam. And in the center now of all of this, a gentleman from Texas. He has a story you are not gonna want to miss. This is Deep Dive with Sarah-Forgany. Byron Stinson, it is wonderful to have you. Thank you for driving all that way. You drove like 3.5 hours to be here with us.
Thank you, Sarah. Tammy and I are happy to be here and happy to discuss this with your audience. And hopefully my heart is from all of this that we all read the Bible deeper, that we all learn things from this, and that we study because, you know, there's things that are being revealed today that were never revealed before.
I'm looking at your cap right now where it says the red heifer on it, and you can see the Israeli flag on one side and the American flag on the other. How does a man from Texas be involved in the rebuilding of the third temple for Jews?
Well, I do have a book that I've written, and it's about the hunt for the red heifer. It's on Amazon, and it could go deeper into the story, but I'll try to tell it fairly quickly. When I was young, I really had a passion for reading, so I started reading the Bible. And when I got up to age 13, 14, which in Judaism is the age of accountability, or bar mitzvah age, I had an experience where I was reading one night, and on my left, I heard a voice, and it was Hashem. It was the Lord. He said, I'm going to use him with the Jewish people. It was out loud. And then on my right, I heard another voice, and it said, he's going to be a failure. He's full of lust and sin of all kinds, and he won't be able to help you at all. And so when I heard that voice, it was quite stunning to me. I never forgot it. But the next morning, I didn't go out and I didn't tell my friends about what I'd heard. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell anyone for 30 years because I was always afraid that if you tell that story, that people, as they are right now probably, people are going to think, wow, he's really crazy to have heard that. But it was something that was real in my life. You know,
well, that's what I was going to say. Is I think a lot of people hear you're searching for a red heifer so we can bring Jesus back. That just doesn't sound sane. And I think a lot of people might think that, but there's actually a massive belief around the world.
Yeah, it's in the Bible. It's there. And I was never expected to be the one to be looking, but as a business guy, I don't give up very easily. And I put a team around me that are incredible Jews and Christians working together, hunting for this and talking to different ranchers.
Rebuilding the third temple and the proximity to Jerusalem and the biblical prophecies and the end of times and all of that is really also deeply rooted, especially in the evangelical beliefs here in the U.S. Are you evangelical, or do you identify as something specific?
I would just say my mom taught me when I was young that we're Judeo-Christian, that we get our values both from the Torah or the Old Testament, and we get our values from the New Testament, and that they fit perfectly. The Bible tells us that as the Messiah gets closer, then all these things are going to be affecting us, and we're already seeing it. It's already happening. It's like the earth is shaking at the coming of the Messiah and the hope of change that's coming right in front of us.
But you feel like the end of time signs are here. You can see the signs here, and you feel like Jesus is coming back soon.
I think 90% of the population already feels inside their heart that they can tell that we've come to the place where education has expanded, travel has expanded, and the Bible talks about those are the signs that we'll know in the last days, and then there'll be more earthquakes and rumors of wars and those things.
You think you represent a large number of Christians around the U.S. who feel like you based on just talking to people?
It's worldwide, and there's millions who want to see Hashem honored and want to see this temple built, and they can't do it. The Jews are going to have to do it.
In order to rebuild that third temple, the first step is the red heifer.
Yes.
That's where you come in.
Yeah.
That red heifer has to be perfect, right?
Absolutely.
Explain to us why in more than 2,000 years there has not been a red heifer until you came along, or the perfect red heifer, I should say.
Well, so in the Bible, what it actually says is speaking to the Jewish leaders in Jerusalem, is what the command is to them. It says, "Say unto Israel to bring us a red heifer." Now, if you don't understand that Israel were the 10 tribes that pulled away from the house of Judah, and they went to the north, and then they were scattered into all the nations by the Assyrians in 720 BC, and they are filtered into every country of the world. And so you could be Israel, I can be Israel. There's no way to know that lineage because that happened at 720 BC. So God's saying to Judah, who's back in the land, say to Israel, bring us a red heifer. So they saw how much I loved Israel and that I had done the projects. And these rabbis said, we're saying to you, please find one red heifer for us, if you could. Look for this spotless red heifer.
And is this something they couldn't find over there in Israel?
No, they fail every time. And my belief is because Judah's not supposed to get their own red heifer. They're supposed to reach out to the nations. They're supposed to reach out to Israel scattered in the nations and say, bring us a red heifer. That's why I was able to succeed when they haven't been able to, because it's God's plan. It fits what's in the Bible.
Before we start talking about the cows, I think most people, even though they have heard of the rebuilding of the Third Temple efforts and a basic understanding of what is going to happen, I don't think anybody has ever heard of the red heifer unless you're really involved with that project. So tell us, what is the red heifer and how is that so important in rebuilding that third temple?
So God gave to Moses, he came to Moses in the wilderness and he explains to Moses how things are done in heaven and gives him a pattern of that so that things can be done that way on earth. So Moses was given the pattern, and the pattern was given to him in the law, which is 613 laws, and given to him in the tabernacle, which today we would call the temple, but it's the tabernacle originally. And so the very first thing that you have to enter into the tabernacle and start fulfilling the laws of God is a red heifer ceremony. And for me, that represents Christ in every way. The red is for his blood that was given for us. The cow is huge, but it also, in this ceremony, has to have a worm that's little bitty, so it's like the Alpha and the Omega. What the Bible tells us is this law that was given to Moses by God is an eternal law that can never be stopped. It must be done.
And that law is?
It's Numbers 19 law, and it's the red heifer. It's the ceremony. It's not a sacrifice. Sacrifices happen within the house of God, within the tabernacle tent, or just outside of it at the altar. This is something that is away from the altar, and it's a ceremony that allows everything to start. So this is why you're seeing that it's kind of, everybody's feeling like there's the start of something different here. It's because to get it started, the first thing has to happen is these ashes of the heifer or the piece that makes everything move into the next transition of time.
Are you the only group that is involved with the Red Heifer Project?
So our group is called Bonai Israel, which means Build Up Israel. So our projects are, like I told you, the Gilgal, the cleaning of the Garden of Gethsemane. There's another project at the Tower of the Flock, has to do with Rachel's tomb, on and on. We do projects in the land. And so the Red Heifer is just, it's another project that I've got to be involved in. How
do you know the right Red Heifer? What is it that makes it the heifer that you need?
So the first thing that is a problem, it cannot have a blemish. A blemish is a scar that doesn't heal. And so every little calf that's born on day one or within the first week, the rancher goes and puts a hole in its ear to put a tag in there. And when you do that, now it's blemished, so it doesn't matter how red it is, that cow's no good. So the first thing is you can't blemish the cow with a scar. It can't be scarred. It can have a scratch that heals, but it can't have a scar. The next thing is it can't have a spot. So what's a spot? Well, in Judaism, they don't take any chances. They want to make sure they don't break the law. So in Judaism, a spot is a place where there's two either black or white hairs that come from the same follicle. Because if it's just one hair, that's not a spot. That's just a hair. But if it has two coming from the same follicle, then they consider that a spot. So it can't have a spot. It can't have a blemish. So it must be all red. Now, how do you tell if a cow's all red? Because there's 100 colors of red. So it really helped us. It hadn't been done in 2,000 years, anybody hunting for a red heifer. So as we started the process, we realized that in the Bible, there's only 4 colors that you have to look for. You look for white, black, red, and green. And so far, never found a green cow, so went down to white, black, and red. So now what you look for is you look for black and white. So you can see real plainly if something's white, and you can see real plainly if something's black. Anything else is red. It might be cherry red, it might be dark red, it might be strawberry red. It might be brown to your eye, but that's red.
So the process took you more than a year, from hunting for the heifers, finding the right heifers in Rockwall, and then finally transporting them to Israel.
Yeah, we started in June of 21. We got them there in September of 22. We got them quarantined. And the reason it got down from 9 to 5 was because there is a law from the United States and Israel not to ship livestock there for meat production. And so we couldn't take them there as livestock, but they have a special law that you can bring up to 5 cats, 5 dogs, 5 turtles, or 5 pets of whatever kind of pets you might have.
So you treated the cows as a pet.
We named them.
Is that what it takes to get around the law?
Not get around the law. They really were our pets. I mean, they became the most docile, loving cows you ever met in your life. They run to us. They're our pets. So they had to fly. They had to go, and eventually they went on American Airlines 777 direct flight from JFK to Tel Aviv when we got them there.
And when was that?
September the 13th of 2022 is when we were able to get them there. We actually had them stay close to Gilgal at a ranch there for a time, and then we were able to make an agreement. There's a place called Shiloh, which Christians call Shiloh. Shiloh's the place where the tabernacle tent stood for 370 years, and it's very important. It's up in Samaria in the northern part of Israel. And so we made an agreement with the people there at ancient Shiloh to be able to bring the cows there and to raise them up and do educational experiences and take care of them there at Shiloh. So we got that done in the spring of 23, and so the cows have been there. Mike Huckabee has been there to see them.
The ambassador Mike Huckabee has been there to see them. So he's involved with your foundation?
No, they're not. I wouldn't call them involved. It's just an important story. They realize the importance of biblically. These men know their Bible. So Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has been there, and there are many, many other congressional leaders from the United States have been there. People from all over the world are coming there and going to ancient Shiloh and getting to see the cows and understand this.
Now, do you work with lawmakers here in the United States as well? I mean, how did you get Mike Huckabee and Mike Johnson and all of them to be involved?
I didn't get them to be involved, except that we just took the cows there and we set up a place for them to be at Shiloh. And then they heard that they were there and they were on tour. And so it is one of the major things that believers in the Bible.
And when was that? How long ago was that they went?
So Mike Huckabee was there this year, probably just as he was being sworn in, maybe 2 months ago.
Was anyone at the ceremony, or was that a very
no
ceremony?
One was at. No, the ceremony was just my family and Jewish rabbi. It was only about 30 people total at the ceremony. I do know a lot of government people in Israel. Through this process, I've met them. They're friends. They love what we're doing. We bring thousands of tourists there and learn about the land of Israel.
When you say government people, are you talking about like the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu?
I don't know him. I don't know him, although the people I work with are very close to him. Yeah. The ones I know are Knesset members. that are in the Knesset, and they love what we're doing.
You do have a lot of religious scholars, Jews, Christians, and Islamic scholars, all three, and they've said, basically, why do you want the end of the world to come? Because this is a sign that the Antichrist will come.
So I guess the question you have to ask is, do you want the Messiah to come? If you believe the Messiah comes and brings peace to the earth, then you have to be willing to go through the process that the Bible lines out for us, which is 3.5 years of a time of tribulation leading to the Messiah coming. If you're happy with life and you don't want the Messiah to come, then we should not build the third temple. If you want redemption of all things, if you want people to have the fullness of salvation and understanding of what God's doing, then you want to do it. So there's people all the way. I get comments that there's people in Japan that want to do it. There's people in Australia that want to do it. There's people all over the world that want to do it. And then there's people that are afraid of that 3.5 year period of time when there will be tribulation on the earth. That doesn't worry me because I know that the King of all kings is greater than the Antichrist.
And I want to take people back a little bit into the history of this. So there was the first temple, and that was destroyed by the Babylonians, and that was before Christianity. And then the second temple, and that was destroyed after Christianity by the Romans. Now there's an effort to rebuild the third temple. And those remnants lie under the Mount Temple, under the Dome of the Rock, under the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And so in order for the rebuilding of the third temple to happen, you need the red heifer before you can even begin that process. But you also eventually need to tear down, right?
No, I don't think so.
The Dome of the Rock.
I don't see it that way. What we see in the book of Revelation, John was in the Spirit. It was after the second temple's already tore down, and John sees the third temple. And when he sees it, he sees that there is a wall of separation between something that's called the profane thing and this temple that's built, and it's on the Temple Mountain. What most people don't understand is there are two different things here. We're talking about the Dome of the Rock. It's just honoring the stone that's underneath it, which is the rock of creation is what's believed there.
It's a holy
by
site.
Jews. It was believed by Jews to be the stone of creation, by the Christians and by the Muslims.
Right.
There's a gray dome also up there. And that's the location above ground of the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but underground, a 10,000-seat part of the mosque that's underneath that does not need to be disturbed in any way. So there can be an agreement to keep the Al-Aqsa Mosque and all the facilities of the mosque, but to go and for the Dome of the Rock, if there's an agreement between the Muslims and the Jews that we want to honor their religion and honor the religion of the Jews and honor the religion of the Christians, then we should be able to have some type of agreement where all of that can be done without the destruction of any buildings.
What's remaining, though, of the first and the second temple right now? You have the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall.
And that's the retaining wall that was put in by Herod. The original mountain is more peaked. And so what he had to do was put in these huge, heavy walls so that he could backfill it and make it a much bigger platform where the Dome of the Rock is.
The red heifers have now been there for about 3 years. What's next? What needs to happen for that temple?
So the ceremony of the red heifer is not a sacrifice, but it's a ceremony where you get the ashes of the red heifer.
And you just got back from Israel, and you guys did that ceremony, right?
Yeah, I actually have some ash in my pocket. And
You want to show us?
Yeah, let me see if I can dig it out.
You brought the cow's ashes with you?
Well, I did, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so here, you can hold it. These are the ashes this is just a little bit of the ash from the first ceremony in 2,000 years. This is the ash that we produced when we went and we took a cow that was pure, as the purest one we had. We took a Cohen priest that's been prepared his entire life to do this ceremony, and we did it outside the camp of Shiloh, and we produced these ashes. And so they're the first time these ashes have been on earth in 2,000 years.
Wow.
Yeah. We got
you.
lots of them. The thing is, you take one little pinch of this. Once it's in the solution, now you can take the solution and add it to 100,000 gallons of water, and the whole 100,000 gallons becomes pure. So you don't need more than this. This would purify the world. It's like Jesus. You don't need just a pinch of him.
So that ceremony just happened in July, right?
July 1st.
And it was, tell me a little bit about the ceremony. What happened during that ceremony? Who was there? Were other Americans there with you, or was it just you?
So it was my wife and I and our daughter, who we didn't really participate in it. We had supplied the cow, so they were kind enough, the Jewish rabbis, to allow us to be there. And the rabbis, they brought different people that came, but the biggest part was a Cohen priest. So this Cohen priest, when he's raised up, he's not born in a hospital because there's too much death there. He doesn't ever go to a cemetery. There's too much death there. He doesn't even walk along the ground where there might be a bone under him because there's too much death in that. So he's raised, and he's raised to do this particular ceremony his whole life. And so when he's very young, 19, 20, he is prepared. He understands the whole process. And they always have someone that is prepared in case it's time that God raises up this red heifer.
So not only is the red heifer a key part, but also the rabbis that perform this ceremony have been trained since childhood.
Yes.
In order to be taking a part in this
Yes.
sacred ceremony.
Yes.
And this is the first ceremony ever in 2,000 years.
Right. It has to, the wood has to be a certain kind of wood. There has, we didn't know for sure when we did the ceremony, or will you have enough wood? Is it, we had to find out what kind of wood.
And
so
all
the
that was
rabbis
there?
were studying all of that, and all of it got there. And we didn't know, you do a practice, you don't know, it may not go well. We had the perfect ceremony and wound up with the perfect ashes out of it.
So what did the ceremony entail? Did you slaughter the red heifer, or was it just one red heifer, or was it more than one?
So the slaughtering of cows is something that, if you look on Google, you'll see there's about 900,000 cows a day slaughtered worldwide for meat production. The slaughter is not a lot different than that, except that it's much more humane. The priest must be trained so that he's using the sharpest of knives, and that it's done in such a way that the cow actually doesn't even feel the cut.
When you say priest, you mean rabbi?
Yeah, no, I mean, well, he's not necessarily a teacher. He's Cohen. He's a priest.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the priest, the Cohen, does the slaughter so that there's no real pain to the cow. It is as painless as possible, which produces the blood, which is what we see it is the blood that has life in it, that it must be produced in this. And then the burning represents the taking away of all the sin, not sin, but the effect of death on our flesh. And so there's a burning of the cow, and then the collection of the ash.
And then once you collect the ashes,
then you put a little in living water, and you take hyssop, which is the same thing before the children of Israel were released from Egypt to go back into the land. They took hyssop and put the blood of the lamb over the doorpost of the house so that the death angel would pass over. And then we see Jesus on the cross being offered hyssop. Hyssop is a symbol of humbleness. You sprinkle this as a way of purifying those items. Now, in the world, there is one substance that is the strongest substance that is most resistant of death. It's stone. It's limestone. So everything is to be done in limestone by the priesthood because it is the purest as far as the fighting against death.
But who gets purified?
Everyone can, but it starts with the primary ones are going to be the priest, the rabbis, the people that are doing construction around the Temple Mountain, but all of the implements that could be used in the temple or in the house of prayer. This is a solution that is made that is for purity of anything it touches. It's Christ.
So before the temple can be rebuilt, anyone who's involved in the building and the preparing of the temple needs to be purified in order for this to be a blessed temple.
Yes.
So now that took place, what's next for you? What's your next mission?
I'll tell you about something that came up. So in all of this, 4 years ago, we were approached because of what we're doing. In the different things. There was a gentleman from Papua New Guinea, Samuel Tabini. And Samuel came to us and said, hey, we're very interested in having an embassy in Jerusalem. And so we need some help and guidance in that. So Rabbi Itzhak Mamo, who is the head of our organization, said, I'll help you. And he introduced them to how to go through the process of that. And that embassy was established in August of 2023. The Prime Minister flew in from Papua New Guinea, and at the inauguration of their embassy, he turned to our organization and said, listen, we have the richest gold in all the world, and we believe that we furnished from Papua New Guinea to Solomon, the very first temple, we furnished gold. We have a tradition that we did that. And so we'd like to fulfill that again. We want to furnish gold. So we actually have gold miners that are talking to the government of Papua New Guinea, and we're just connecting people.
So they're mining the gold specifically for when the temple is built?
They want to give gold for the temple, free.
So once the temple is built, you have to have a certain amount of gold?
Everything.
Or what is needed?
If you think Donald Trump has a lot of gold, he's just beginning to get gold. The temple is coated. It is the most beautiful golden thing in the world. So we need a lot of gold. If you look in the Bible, you'll see the gold that was brought from Egypt, from the Queen of Sheba, but you see this gold that came after a 3.5-year trip that David took with Hiram's best sea captain and brought back much gold and monkeys and apes and spices from the Far East. And they believe the Solomon Islands, you've heard of the Solomon Islands, they believe that this gold came from the Solomon Islands.
So the temple will be coated in gold when it's built?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow.
The implements,
and
everything.
So even that process is now underway as well, that gold mining.
It'll have to be God, but yes, it's already, we're having discussions. Now, where will it go? I have no idea, but you asked me what's next for me. I may be taking a trip to Papua New Guinea in the next short while to discuss that.
So technically, the process to rebuild has really started after 2,000-something years ago.
And by the way, there's going to be another ceremony, I'm sure, on the Mount of Olives, and that will be probably the ashes that'll be used more directly on the building of the temple. That doesn't mean these ashes don't have their place in the whole thing. God wouldn't allow it if there wasn't an important part for these too. So this is a process, and it will continue, and there will be an agreement between different people of the world, and there'll be strong, mighty leaders that'll come, and they'll say, let's do this for the good. Now, there comes a time that the nations of the earth don't like this, and the Antichrist steps up. It might be 100 years from now before that happens. This temple could operate for 100 years before the Antichrist shows up. It doesn't mean he's coming tomorrow. The only reason that the Antichrist will come to the temple is if the temple is actually doing the things that God wants done and the kingdom of God is being realized on earth.
Well, I know that there are lobbying efforts around the world by different organizations, even from Israel, to pursue that. The Temple Institute tweets about this quite a bit, getting ready for the third temple. Are you guys involved with the Temple Institute at all, or how close do you think you are to rebuilding? Who's going to be in charge?
So there's many groups that are going to have different parts of that. And no one knows exactly how it will come down in the end, which groups will do what. As far as I know as coming from the outside, I won't actually lay a hand on doing any of that. We've got some money to help, but we won't lay a brick. We won't do any of that. We won't do any of the, that's all on the Jewish Cohen priest and rabbis to do all of the building and take care of all of that. They'll wind up when it's time, because it's written that it's going to happen, it will happen. For me, if it doesn't happen for 100 years, I'm okay with that.
So are you guys, is your foundation working directly with the Israeli government?
No, it's not. We actually are a U.S. nonprofit. Our president is Rabbi Itzhak Mamo. We have Jews and Christians, and so we're not connected to the U.S. government or any other government. We're just believers in Hashem. We don't even all agree that Yeshua is the returning Messiah. The president of our organization believes that the Messiah will be someone else. The way we work together is say, look, I believe it's Yeshua. the son of Mary and Joseph, that was born in the fields of Bethlehem Ephratah, that he will be the one that will be the returning Messiah. And he gives me the respect to say, okay, you can believe that, Byron. For me, when I read it, I think it's going to be a different Messiah coming from a different lineage or a different way. But when he gets here, this is the way we do it. We agree on 90% of the Bible. So on this 10%, what we've agreed to do is when the Messiah shows up, we'll politely ask him to see his passport. If it has 2 stamps, we'll know it's Yeshua. If it only has 1 stamp for the first time, then I was wrong and he was right. And I think that's where we got to get to between Muslims and Christians and Jews. We all have to come to a place, you know what? God's above us all.
The reason I asked about the Israeli government is because you can't just go on and rebuild the third temple on your own. So there has to be a much larger concerted effort in order for that to happen, despite the ceremony already taking place and all the preparations.
To be clear, the building of the temple will be the actual work of the rabbis and the Cohen, the priests that are Jewish. That will be their responsibility. But as far as the actual work and the permits and how it's going to look, that's all up to the government.
You mentioned part of your foundation. You have rabbi and Christians working together. And so I'm wondering if there are any Muslims that are a part of your foundation that are working toward rebuilding, or is that a complete no at this point?
We don't have any Muslims that work actively within Bonai Israel. Our organization. It's only Christians and Jews that are working in that organization.
What kind of reaction, though, did you get when you reached out to those ranchers and told them what you needed them for?
Well, most were like, well, I sell them. You want to pay me, I'll sell you one. But
as long as you pay up, we're good.
And others were like, that's really interesting. I'd love for you to come look at my herd and see if we would have one that was that red.
But none of them knew about the red heifer and the third temple connection?
Well, what happened was we also told all of our friends, and so a friend of mine, Dr. Robert Mawiri, had a good friend who knew of a ranch where that rancher really loves the Lord, really loves the Bible, and he had raised the reddest of cows starting back in the 1990s, and his name's Ty Davenport. And Ty had always wanted the reddest of the red cows because he loved the scriptures of Numbers 19. And we wound up on his ranch in October of 21, and he has about 500 head of cows, and he had little red heifers all over his farm. Unfortunately, they were all tagged because we got there a little late. See, cows are born in the spring and they're in the fall, and we were a little late. But he said, I have a few more head that are going to give birth. And from the very beginning, my heart was, they asked me to find 1 red heifer. I wanted to find 7 because that's a godly number. And I thought, well, we'll try to find 7. Well, at the end of it, once his cow stopped giving birth and we gathered them all together, we had 21. So we had 3 times 7. 7 for the Father, 7 for the Son, and 7 for the Holy Ghost, I guess. And so we had a lot to choose from.
And those were the perfect heifers?
They were beautiful, perfect heifers.
And where was that again?
That's in Rockwall, Texas, over by Rockwall, Texas. It's called the Triple Creek Ranch. And so from there, we actually...
you bought the heifers from
No,
him?
what we did, we quietly paid for some very respected rabbis from Israel to fly over, and we took them to a couple of ranches, and we took them there, and we did the inspection. There's a show that's been on for years and years called the Zola Levitt Show that a lot of Christians watch about Israel. Ken Berg's the producer of that show. I called him. He's a friend. I said, Ken, we've got some cows. Bring your crew. Let's go and check these cows. So we had Ken Berg there to do the video. We did some video ourselves, and we brought the rabbis in. And after it got kind of rainy that day, it's a little muddy. The rabbis are down there in their rubber boots trying to look at all these cows. And the head rabbi turned to me and said, we got a big problem. I said, what's the matter? I got 21 of them. He said, we can't, have to inspect every hair. We'll never get to all of them. I said, well, just get 8 or so. And so we wound up with 9 that day inspected. And when it came time for to make the transaction for purchasing them, the rancher, his Ty Davenport, he's been raising these cows his whole life. And he loved the Jewish people. He loves the Bible. And he said, I'm not charging a dime. I'm going to give these cows to. So he gave sacrificially to the Jewish people as part of Israel to say, we want to give these as a gift to Israel.
That's quite the donation. How much does a cow like that normally cost?
They're somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000 per cow because they're very high bred. Now, the number that we took was 5.
How many times have you been to Israel now?
About 95. Wow. Yeah, about 95
95 times.
Yeah, it's a lot of flights.
And you have a home there.
I do. I have a home that's in the shepherd's fields. It's the actual fields where the Bible in Micah 5 says, Bethlehem Ephratah, to you will be the place where the Messiah is born.
And how much time do you spend out there?
So we spend, I can only stay up to 6 months in a year because that's all I have is a tourist visa.
So really at this point, you feel like you've done your part. You have the ashes and the gold is underway, and it's just, I guess, a matter of the government's getting involved in figuring out
however they want to figure it out.
However they want, and that could be however long, no one really knows.
It's a matter of governments discussing, how they're going to work with the rabbis, how all those things are going to work out. Is it going to be 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 20 years from now? I have no idea.
You're well known in Israel.
We're well known worldwide now. It's unbelievable. Yeah. Millions have looked at this and gone to their Bibles to read. And I love that. I want them to read their Bibles. And I want them to get my book, Hunt for the Red Heifer, on Amazon.
Do me a favor before we go. Look at the camera and show everybody your cap.
This camera?
Yes.
Okay. So it says huntfortheredheifer.com. And it's...
And what's in your hand again?
So this is the Red Heifer ash that came from the July 1st ceremony of the Red Heifer. There were those that said that the cow we used got bit by a dog. They had to take that back because that wasn't true. And there were those that said it was a white cow, and they had to take that back because that wasn't true. There were those that said it wasn't a pure cow. It was the purest we had there. And the colon was pure. And it produced these ashes for the first time in 2,000 years. We have the ashes.
You're the man who provided Israel with the pure red heifer to rebuild the third temple.
And I did it not for me. I did it for anybody that loves the Lord and wants to see the things of the Bible take place. And so this was just my effort to say, let's try to be together and love each other.
Byron, thank you.
Yeah.
Great conversation. Very interesting. I don't think I've ever met anyone as interesting as you, as a matter of fact. Thank you for driving out here as well, and it's nice to meet you.
Man, you got a good handshake. God bless you.
I practice a lot. Thank you.